Yaro Tamale, says that A+ should indeed bury his head in shame. The said leaked audio, whether doctored or not, will have dire consequences on his party. Then Idrisu Husseini says, good morning, TV3. I'm highly disappointed by the CID boss's comment for not denying that the voice was hers. But the disgraceful part of it is when she said that she was being manipulated or fake one. I don't understand what you're saying, but the bottom line is that she says that this has been doctored. And Ali Kali Kunate from Sandama says A+ should give us a break. The party leadership should call him to order. Right, so we'll pause here. Quite a lot of your messages are coming in, and this one from Nana Amachi from Kumasi says, Honorable Tetechai, this leaked audio has nothing to do with procurement. Remember, it is an allegation leveled against the two chiefs. My dear host, let's talk about free SHS. Right. That's very forceful. We'll take a break here. I'm Stephen Enti, and you can follow us on our live stream also. This is New Day. We're having a very interesting discussion, and when we return, of course, we'll talk about free SHS, and we'll talk about other issues. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.
Prudential Bank is also there.
Yeah, Prudential is also there. No, the fact is
Right, welcome back. We're having very interesting discussions, and I'm tempted that we should wrap up properly on this A+ issue, as there are quite a number of questions that need to be explored. For example, what is it that is making A+ get a sense of entitlement to this issue? And perhaps I, from a media perspective, watching it, get to the sense that he commands some kind of authority within the MPP or something. Honorable Mensah, do you know?
I don't think he commands any authority within the MPP at all. I mean, we all know A+. I mean, he has a lot of social media following, and I think that's what he's exploiting for whatever purposes that he has. Of course, he may be well-intentioned, that he sees some things that are happening and wants to voice them out. He's been speaking on several issues for several years, and so I don't think that this is as a result of his influence in the MPP
or anything.
No,
and so, can, for example, the party take an action decisive on how to manage
then
this,
again,
and
what it is that he has done against the party, if you like. I mean, he
it's not a party
has
issue.
A suspicion that he's put out. The police has investigated, issued a statement on the allegations that he put out. And then he subsequently has brought some tape that the other party whose voice is on it is contesting its authenticity, because clearly from her statement she claims that, well, I had conversations with him pre and post the release of the investigation, and that the recording that has been put out there has been doctored to make it seem as if it was one unitary conversation, but it was not. And that whatever conversation that took place after the report had been given is completely different from, so really.
It's neither here nor there.
Absolutely. As far as I'm concerned,
Dr.
the police ought to just do his job.
I'm thinking that
investigate the authenticity of the tape, and then we move on.
How do we move on exactly, Dr. Jinapor?
I think first of all, it needs to be stated that for me as an individual, even though I'm biased in this issue, I don't think A+ is a bad man. I don't think so. In the sense that...
You don't think also that he means harm to anyone?
Well, I think the approach that he used was wrong, where he started by posting on his Facebook wall that these two individuals are thieves, they are stupid and all those things. I think it was a wrong thing. If an individual thinks that somebody has done something wrong, somebody, in the case of the deputy chiefs of staff, have engaged in any act of corruption, the best way to go was to report the case to the police with evidence. I think finality will be brought to this case if he provides evidence, substantial evidence that cannot be disputed, that these two individuals did A, B, C, D, and this is the evidence. Unfortunately and regretfully, when he went to the police, based on the reportage that we are getting, he didn't provide any evidence.
But he himself was on record on Joy FM to have said that
there's no
the
evidence.
allegations are based on his belief.
So the first issue, there is some semblance of what finality being brought to it based on what the accuser says.
You think the Ghanaian media is taking A+ too serious?
Well, there's nothing wrong with it.
Everyone is taking
no. There's nothing. I think he's gained a lot of prominence even now than before. Because to be honest, if you didn't know him prior to this whole allegation. Secondly, A+ has said publicly that he did not release the tape, that he did not leak the tape.
But he recorded it.
Well, he hasn't said anything to that effect.
The only logical inference.
Yeah, no, but he hasn't said anything to that. He says he gave it to some two people, one individual,
yes.
Tego.
So
then Tego gave it to...
And he is the one who recorded the tape.
Agreed. He recorded it. But you see, MP, the fact is this. What is bringing out this whole confusion has to do with two things. Number one, the ACP in that tape, even though he denies, saying that there was some level of truth. So if the ACP is saying that there was some level of truth, then it means that the report that was brought is at variance with what she says on the tape. But there's a caveat here. The caveat being that when she said that, it was before investigations had taken its proper momentum, because they hadn't spoken to the two deputy chiefs of staff.
She had no basis to
She had no basis to conclude that. And even she doesn't even conclude. She says there's some... It's closer to truth. So it's not, she could have just said that, look, my brother, what you are saying is true. Those guys are corrupt. But for the sake of what? Your party, let it go. But she said there's some level of truth. So you can't conclude. The second thing has to do with the presidency, where she says that the president has good intentions or not, and all those things, and she wants to get to the president. I don't know what informed that conclusion, because how does she know that the president has good intentions? And how does she know that people surrounding the president are not going to let the president realize it? I think if what she's saying is true, I think it got to a point that she became very cozy with A+, because the kind of conversation.
Cozy.
Oh yeah,
the cozy doesn't show in the audio.
That is it.
Coziness.
Oh no, but the conversation looks very, very relaxed and extremely informal. Where she was more or less, if you realize, she said that A+ should be careful he doesn't destroy the party, and A+ said no, the government, and even more so, A+ was doing more of the listening than the talking. So a professional policewoman, you should have been a little bit careful. You know, I think we should cut her slack.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. She's done very well for herself. She's a woman. I mean, as I said, I happen to have known her at Winneba. Honorable Tete Chow has gone to the extreme that she should be interdicted. My brother, you don't know what interdiction means. I think you can't use a caterpillar to kill a fly. Let's give, oh no, I don't think so. Let's give her the benefit of doubt. If it is the case that there's real corruption, that should be the bedrock of this whole brouhaha, not this distraction. I think this tape is a distraction. If there's any need for investigation, Stephen, let me conclude.
Yeah.
Mr. A+ must come forward with what? Evidence. So that finality will be brought to this issue.
Mr. Apple, you also think that
I think A+
the finality will be the police continuing and wrapping up on the investigations, or you feel an independent body is necessary, another bureaucratic stage, or Shraj should take over?
You see, for me, I've said it, and I'm saying it again, that, look, the basis of all these things is about Kolebu and an issue, which nobody has told us anything. Let's just conclude on that, so that the two chiefs of staff will go without. Nonado is setting a precedent, and please, let us all follow it.
Nonado setting a precedent?
A precedent. Master, if you bring an allegation, let it be investigated. And so, who is afraid? I mean, who's courting some fear? Who's trying to cover somewhat? I mean, the man says, do it. I mean, what's your problem? He told the IGP, Master, he told the police, if you want to put on an MPP thing to manage thing, be very careful. And all these things are coming up. So get it and then do it. A+ in this situation, he's a businessman getting close with some political something, and then getting his businesses through and everything. It's cool with him. If A+ meant well, for me, this one, I will be on him a bit. If he meant well, A+ is I think he goes to the presidency without any headache at all. What stopped him, if these things have come up, and you really say, you are a party person and you want the party to move on and you want the government to be well, as you said, I mean, what stopped you from even approaching the presidency, whatever it was, and then getting these things sorted out in there? Then all this mess being created. The fact is, yes, there may be a little bit of a truth in what the two deputy chiefs of staff did. Fine. Bring that up and let's look at it and see whether it was or not. If you read his Facebook account of what he narrated, I mean, he's telling us a different thing altogether today. Today we are sitting here, spending the whole week talking about his allegations he made and all the tapes that have been leaked and everything. Nobody can tell me A+ didn't leak the tape. He did it. It is he. He recorded it. No, he recorded it. And he did it.
So he should take responsibility
for it and let's move on. And then just stop all these things of courting attention here and there and everything. And I think that if he was that close, he talks about the fact that he supports Nonado. He's not an MPP. I remember him saying that he's not an MPP member, but he supports Nonado. So then that closeness is there. Why couldn't you relay these all things to him? And then all these things that we talk, sitting here talking about a leaked tape, which covers
instead of talking about free
seriously,
right? Honorable Desire, how should we move forward from this?
For me, I've stated categorically that look, this issue involves an alleged procurement infraction, and for me, we need to tackle it from that end, because if you listen to the conversation, it's as a result of what happened in Kolebu. So why are we not interested to know what actually happened in Kolebu?
Because contracts have not been signed.
Please, you don't know? You don't know?
We don't know.
We don't know. Or you know?
I don't know yet.
Exactly.
I don't know.
Exactly. So our interest should be what actually took place.
Maybe Dr. Jinapod knows.
He doesn't. He told us. You see? Because per the statements made by the ACP, Deputy CID, she made certain references to the investigations that they've made. Okay? As we sit here, nobody knows exactly to the extent to which the procurement processes went. Nobody knows. That necessitated the bank to go to the presidency to petition. We don't know. So for us to be able to ascertain actually what took place, the good people of this country wants to know whether the procurement processes, there were infractions in the processes. That is all.
Right.
And if that is made known to us and there are no flaws, then the whole thing becomes baseless. But if that issue has not been made clear to the good people of this country, people have questions to answer.
Right, questions to answer indeed. Let's move away from A+ and all of the issues. This week, you recall that there was a dramatic arrest of an NDC serial caller up here Stadium. The key question this is bringing is whether you get the sense that freedom of speech has been taken for granted. We do get situations where foot soldiers malign presidents with the backing, actually, of their party. The drama surrounding Apia Stadium's arrest, the allegations against the person of the president that he smokes weed. Information Minister Mustafa Hamid says that it is a recitation from a discredited NDC propaganda book. But the opposition also hold their ground and say that their source of information is the unchallenged reports by WikiLeaks. At the heart of all of this, however, is what I will call unsubstantiated, malicious, and uncalled for aspersions against the officials, public officials, in the name of free speech and politics. So, critical question, at what point do we say enough is enough? And moving forward, how do we ensure that we have decent conversations without it descending into the negatives that it does get? I mean, you call your president a weed smoker, you apologize profusely, police picks you up, the party you belong to comes in support of you and all of that. So it's not pretty nice. Honorable Tachai, the MPPs, the information minister, the reason why I just said MPP was that his statement did suggest that what happened in the allegations that were made by Apia Stadium comes from an MPP, an NDC propaganda book. This is not pleasant. I mean, I cannot call the president a weed smoker if I don't have the evidence. We're taking this free speech thing too far, you think?
Yeah, first of all, let me say that for me, anything that does not allow our democracy to be practiced in a way that is desirable
must be condemned.
Must be condemned. I do not support that. And I've always said that democracy, being given rights, freedoms to express yourself, does not mean that we should throw away our cultural or traditional norms as a people. We need to combine our traditional norms with the democracy that we are practicing. And that will make us a distinct people. So, in my whole life as a politician, I have never used abusive language on my fellow opponent. Never. I have never done that.
You're a fine gentleman then.
And that makes you the democratic person that people want you to be. It doesn't mean you should not be criticized. No. For us to develop as a country, criticism is a major part of the journey. As we are seated here, we are criticizing. And why are we doing this? To ensure that our democracy is enhanced. And that should be the language. Okay? You don't attack the person by insulting or denigrating the person. No. But the conduct of the person can be criticized. Okay? And that is not an insult. But you see, I heard the information minister. He's also guilty of some of those things. He himself is guilty. Yes, he himself is guilty.
How?
And we are in this country. We know people who use foul language when they mount political.
And he's one of them.
He doesn't use it again.
No, please. That is even that makes it worse. You see, you don't say you only come into office and then you behave maturely. No. In opposition, you need to behave maturely. You need to behave as a Ghanaian who has been nurtured traditionally. And that is what
who has been
most
brought
of us
up from home.
Exactly. That is what most of us as politicians are losing. And you see, we forget the fact that we are role models to the society. Okay? Yes. We are role models to the society. The youth who watch us every day learn from us the way we speak, our actions, and they learn from those things. And that will make them better governors or leaders in the future. So if those of us who are leading currently will glorify people who denigrate, people who insult, people who use abusive language, then what are we creating for the future?
But the NDC,
all political parties,
the NDC's General Secretary defended Asiedu-Dartey anyway. I mean, that's the party from the party's position.
Yes, that is
they
his
defended
view.
him.
Yes, because of the pattern that has been created in this country.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah, of course, and I will not involve myself in such a thing. Okay, but that has been the pattern. So how are we going to depart from that party?
How are we going to
The
depart?
responsibility lies on all of us here. Okay? That anytime we are given the opportunity to speak, when we are addressing people, we should talk about the issues. Okay? We should address them constructively. Because that is the only way we can develop as a nation. Any leader who does not want to be criticized, then it means you are not ready to progress. Okay? So for me, it's because of the way we've taken our democratic culture and then left out our traditional norms. We've taken those things out of it. It doesn't matter anymore because there is freedom of speech. But what we should know is that the freedom of speech has limitations. You can't call somebody a thief whilst you've not even, the person has not been put before the court to be pronounced guilty. But we sit here, we do. We come here, and we do that, and we go scot-free. And that has been the trend. So for me, every right-thinking Ghanaian that wants to ensure that sanity is brought into our democratic dispensation needs to condemn all acts of lawlessness on the part of political
insults and what appear to be a bad trend.
And you see, it is because most people glorify people who behave in such
that
manner.
way, right?
Look at the various political parties. The very people who misbehave, they are the people who the supporters always follow. They vote for.
Honorable Mesa, let me take it from Honorable Mesa's, Tetichai's point of view. There are those who say that the president's decision not to avail himself of the legal options, or for example, take the legal opportunities against Apia Stadium, are some of the decisions that embolden political thugs to continue in this manner. You are a lawyer. Do you think the president, in deciding that he won't take this matter any further, is actually arming political foot soldiers?
Well, could be not. I mean, I think that the president decided not to follow these vilification is in the right direction, because otherwise he will spend the whole time in court, fighting to redeem his image.
When he's in a hurry to implement
of course,
free
when he's in
SHS.
a hurry to implement free SHS and other policies that impact the life of the Ghanaian positively. Look, His Excellency the President can easily be described as the most vilified and insulted politician this country has ever known. I mean, they've called him all sorts of names, even when he was an opposition leader, candidate. They said all sorts of things. Said drug user, he's a murderer, he's all sorts of things. I mean, unprintable words were used against him. But except for one occasion that he went to the media commission for some media houses to retract some allegations that were made against him. He's really not been bothered. And of course, the good people of Ghana saw in between the lines and realized that, look, like the Minister of Information said, this is the NDC propaganda book, you know. Paint the man evil and it will stick. But thankfully, it didn't stick. So for this Apia Stadium gentleman to have come out only sometime last week or so to make this repeated, really discredited statement that His Excellency the President was a substance user, for me, it was not surprising.
I know this is just one case of Apia Stadium, but there have been others. You know, the records are there to show.
Yeah, of course.
Like President Mahama, for example, Rollins, everybody has suffered it. So the key discussion for me, I feel, is how we should be moving away from this kind of engagement in our political discourse. At what point do we draw the line and say enough is enough? Should we go by what Honorable Tatacha is saying, that we should go back to our traditional norms as Ghanaians, respecting our elders?
Well, I don't think that for the most part people have abandoned their Ghanaianness. I mean, majority of us still hold our customs and traditions
close to our chest.
Yeah, of course, and accordingly guide our utterances in that regard. I mean, but for some people, you know, it's pretty not much that you can do about them. I mean, it's important that, you know, look, I mean, I know very decent Ghanaians who